So, how's the week been? What's happening, Nirvan?
Oh, it's been such a transformative week. So obviously I'm on this journey of transitioning into full-time self-employed nature of life and getting rid of um, the day job. Part of that is facing a bunch of my own limiting beliefs around what I'm worth, actually, really. And so this week I was fortunate enough to be on a call with Paul Martinelli, who is like a global multi-millionaire and like a pretty interesting dude. And he said two things that just landed so hard with me. One was the law of sacrifice is often considered as being a trade. Like you just go in and you swap something out, right? You're going into the shop and you're like, oh yeah, I want that. I'll give you this. Great, away it goes. But in order to prepare yourself for the law of sacrifice, it's not a simple trade because you actually have to be willing to truly give something up of yourself. And you've got to give it up blind, going into something that is unknown. And that is the greatest nature of courage that is required to go to the edge of that precipice. And when your identity is formed up amongst the bunch of your achievements that you've made thus far, to untangle yourself from that and to step into your nature, to step into the unknown and create something brand new takes so much more emotional energy. And so when you practice a whole bunch of gratitude and you're like, oh, I've got so much gratitude for this in my life and this in my life and this in my life. And then in that gratitude, you unconsciously create attachment. Then when it's time to step into a new
Ah,
room, you've actually set yourself up for so much more emotional inertia towards that
and
change.
what's the price?
Yeah,
Comes into the question, right?
exactly. The price just skyrockets for yourself about how you're going to try and change this. And then the it's going to activate more of your own inner fears about, hey, well, it's going to feel like you're tearing a piece of yourself off when you have to
Right.
do that, rather
Exactly.
than you being able to focus on, okay, well, I know that I've given all of this time here to this. And in intentionality, in me going that I know I've limited out, I've reached the max of my capacity to grow within this experience. And
That's
now
right.
I enter the new experience, right? Knowing that I go like knowing that law of sacrifice gives you that kind of balance of going, I'm here and I'm here in this process of growth. And so I actually attached to the process of growth. And it felt very Vedic in itself. It felt very, you know, attach the process of life. Don't attach the outcome, right? But in this
Indeed.
really key aspect towards even your business, even the way that you're going to build something, because when you start saying, hey, I've built this now, I've built this and I am this, then it makes the change so much harder. And
And
yeah.
I think with my first business, looking back, uh, I I'd say I went in there being ignorant of the costs,
Mm.
being ignorant of the price, and that may have been a very good thing at the time because you almost didn't think ignorance is bliss, they say, and it's so true.
Mm.
But n now that I am where I am, a lot older, you've obviously got different responsibilities in your own life,
Mm.
and having had the experience that I did, the price has just gone up.
Mm.
I couldn't uh, just let go of everything like I did back then and go and open a cafe,
Yeah.
which is what I did,
Yeah.
first business. Um, so, and I think it takes a level of knowing what you're holding on to emotionally and subconsciously and
Mm.
physically,
Yeah.
because the price has just gotten a lot larger.
Exactly.
You,
Exactly. And I think the other thing that's come into great clarity for me as a result of that, you're talking about that price, and then you talk about responsibility, and then you talk about your sense of self and where you're getting your fulfillment from. And so Maslow's hierarchy always talks to us about needing to fill your survival mode first before you go into actualization, right? All the way to the
That's
top.
right.
But
That's right.
it feels, entrepreneurship in itself can feel like such a spiritual journey then when you have to go through these processes of facing yourself, or your own hero journey in each part of it. But when you focus on all survival aspects, your mind, which is designed to protect you, is saying these barriers are so large, right? So you've got to think
Correct.
in risk mitigation at times. And you've also got to overcome the part of your brain which is trying to say, no, don't take this step because all of this is here. And it can sometimes disproportionately represent the risk because of how embedded it is in survival, right? I mean, its whole job is
That's
to
right.
help us survive. Its whole biology is set to pattern recognition to avoid danger. But we've got to go to the very edge of that and show it and prove to your nervous system, to your emotional regulation, that you can
And
go to that end beyond, survive it, and create new freedom.
that's exactly right. So, um, I type of feel like where I am right now is a place where even though the emotional costs are so much larger, uh, I am still driven and willing to wear those costs in my next business venture. It
Mm-hmm.
won't go away because uh, the reward that comes with what's coming, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not only the end result that I'm looking for, it's actually the journey itself, the ups and downs that are going to happen inevitably,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I've decided, hey, this is a business that I really want to start. Um, but I also think if we compare the last 15 years to the next 15 years that are coming, I honestly feel like anybody could start a business idea with the tools that we have at our hands right now, like AI. I mean, we were probably only joking about AI and robots are going to take over the world,
Yeah.
but it is very much a valid reality today. We're already using them as tools, and I think as they get better and better, um, for example, ChatGPT, we use in comparison to using ChatGPT for doing market research on a product, for example, um, in comparison to that, we used to have to run manual analysis before. And so I think using those tools can greatly mitigate the risk, and help you feel better about the cost that you are going to have to wear, in giving up your place from going uh, from going from where you are right now, being employed, having a secure income, having a secure job, a secure identity. I think that's another big one.
Mm-hmm.
To the unknown. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. I
Yeah,
remember when
absolutely.
we were 4 or 5, and we were excited but also scared that we're gonna fall off the bicycle.
Yeah.
But it's an inevitability that that's gonna happen. So
And
that's
I
cool.
think, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a few like one tools. I mean, you've also touched on how we sometimes fear the fall,
Hmm.
and what we can do about that. And
Hmm.
also, like, because failures, there are going to be some failures in it, but how
There
you
have to
prepare
be.
yourself for
There
failure.
have to be failures.
Yeah.
And
And,
look, there were a couple. The biggest, I guess, the biggest breaking point for me was when I had to sell my first business off. Um, Obviously, we had two sides to the business. One was the business to business, um, wholesale manufacture of coffee, and wholesale sales to other cafes and other restaurants, which did very, very well. It was a very low overhead business model that worked, and it probably would still work to this day because it's a very simple business model. and the sheer cost in terms of staff and operations is quite low. The other side was retail, which was highly labor intensive. You have a lease, a bricks and mortar store, very capital heavy, a lot of capital expenditure there. And so I had to one point obviously decide to go, right, things are not going as well as they should. And that makes you feel like a failure. And then the second part of falling off the bicycle, so to speak, was actually setting it off, because I personally tied a lot of my identity as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a businessman, or a business owner, to the fact that I am a cafe owner of this particular place in West End. And when we had to sell off, I definitely felt like, God, I actually did fall off the bicycle. But it also taught me something, that when something like that happens, we have to let go of it and pick ourselves up, and get back on the bicycle, basically. So yeah, totally resonate. It's gonna happen, Nirvan.
Yeah.
You're gonna fall off the bicycle. So far, how are things going with planning out this next stage, gear number 2?
Yeah.
Is it gear number 2 for you, do you think?
Gear number 2.
Or are you still in gear 1?
Look, mentally and emotionally, I've probably gone all the way to 6th gear at different times.
But overall,
yeah. So there's a mixture. I used to be just a very methodical planner. Like, I would plan and optimize, plan and optimize, plan and optimize. But then what I found is that I would get to the end of this, and because I spend so much time just planning, revisiting, without much testing or seeing, and really being certain that what I was actually optimizing was worth it to the market. So for me, it was necessary to adjust more of a fail fast method in a number of things, and also to because part of my dreaming nature means that I want to dream the whole big picture, make all the great ideas, and then that kind of like releases all this creative love about it, and then I can come back to plan segments of it, and then go test little segments. And so for my nature and for the way that this creative process works really well for me, being able to do parts of that were important. And I think because of that business at different times that I've started and created my form of entrepreneur practice, sometimes unconventional. But last year I heard something that Elon Musk had spoken about, which was, before, engineers like to optimize a lot of things, but you shouldn't optimize until you know that it's worthwhile. And so then, for me, emotionally and physically, I've probably, at times gone to gear 6, but definitely I'm still in gear 1 now, revisiting some of the things that weren't great. So maybe it's a fully agile aspect, maybe it's CVT if we're continuing a transmission analogy. But yeah, how's it going? The feedback's been really good. It's been really exciting. And part of the things that are important that I've learned is that I need to praise myself more through each process so that I can become emotionally and like nervous system wise entrenched and engaged into the process. Because the more that I think, hey, someone else has to really resonate with this truly in the big idea, then the more susceptible you are to changes when they don't see it. Because the first time you pitch something, you don't pitch it the best. So going back to my door-to-door sales, where I love the rejection of something, because every no is one step closer to the yes that I want, right?
I remember those days.
I was like, came up in a call the other day and I was like, 100%. I remember like, and it was so clear because when I was doing door to door, it was a square with 100 on it, and I knew law of averages was 100 pitches with the same eye contact and excitement, and you would get your 5 sales, right?
You would.
And you would cross off every one that didn't work, and you'd be like pumped about the no because you're finding your yes.
At the end of the line, yes,
Yeah,
it's true.
and so part of that all those things have come back. So we've been digging deep. I probably haven't changed the second gear yet in terms of the actual structure of the business and the way forward. But things are in a better place than they've ever been. So
Okay, great.
launch is in May, so soon.
Now, what does it look like to you when you feel that you've completed where you are at in gear 1 and you're ready to move to gear 2? What does that look like to you?
Yeah. So looks like to me that I've got good copy that's well tested, that I've got a clear website that with good funnels on it and a great program to offer. So that's been at least tested with a selection of accessible target market that I've got. Obviously, using AI and using a bunch of those things certainly is great to test, but then some random people, some people I know, some acquaintances, reading some of the material and some of the marketing material which I've had done so far. And then anecdotal feedback about the concept. So I have the privilege that I get to speak to a lot of people every day. And so generally talking and through questioning, validating more widely that this is a actual problem in the market, right? More widely than just, perhaps just making yourself feel more comfortable that the market exists.
I understand exactly where you're coming from, because when you're building something and it's a product or service, it doesn't matter. Very often you yourself go, yes, I think we should have this in the product or service. I think we should have this particular feature or this particular benefit, or this is going to actually do this. But when you actually go to market, only then do you find out, and also very often, that, wait a minute, this isn't what people are looking for. Because I call it the "it will do" syndrome, right? So we all have one of these, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what brand, but we no longer rely on actual digital SLR cameras anymore. And the reason is because this will do. And I think that trickles into every other aspect of people's lives. If they feel like they are themselves, at least say, let's take, for example, your coaching program or your mentorship program, and they go, yeah, maybe I'll use ChatGPT to coach and mentor myself.
Yeah.
It will do.
Yeah.
But they may not yet know the value that you will actually help them discover about themselves, human to human.
Yeah.
So do you have a minimum viable product or service, something that you can offer out there, just to see if people would actually purchase?
Yeah, I do. I've designed one now. It's a simple, bespoke coaching program specific to men that I'm testing in terms of the initial offer, how it's presented, and whether, I've sent it to 15 people so far, see what group of people would say yes, that they're interested or that they would do some part of this, or that they
Yeah.
would, and how much they would pay for it, and then go through the process to try that. So
I
yeah,
think, just an idea, I reckon
yeah,
what you should do is actually put that very thing on your website and put a buy button next to it.
yeah,
Um, obviously with the real payment gateway and everything embedded in there, so they can actually purchase it. Whoever goes there, because I'm such a big believer in actually being upfront and honest and putting it right out there in front of people. And sometimes this is what they need,
mhm,
because we're so used to seeing websites with 26 different pages, and people get lost in those and then bounce off
mm,
because there's no buy button. And to me, that's the equivalent of, when we used to go out to sell, if we didn't ask for the sale, you never got the sale, right?
yeah,
And it is a numbers game.
yeah,
So yeah, we used to go door to door. We used to cold call. I mean, I'm in B2B sales with partnerships,
yeah,
and I still cold call.
yeah,
And lo and behold, the amount of conversations I've had out of those is phenomenal. Business to business is a whole other kettle of fish, obviously.
mm.
Most businesses don't buy from a website. However, sorry, I digress. So I think, in today's online world, the equivalent of getting close, getting no it gets you closer to your next yes. The equivalent of that is every single visitor on your website that doesn't make a purchase or doesn't complete the
Should be
download.
hard to know.
That is them.
Yeah,
And uh, the more numbers you get visiting your website, could be a product, service, whatever it is. If there's no buy button there, you're basically selling yourself short. You are not asking for the sale.
mm.
That's my belief. Just an idea. It could
No, I
work.
agree. I
Trial
think
it.
it's a great point, and if anything, the when this is something, well, I suppose every product or service you create is personal. This feels like the most personal product that I've ever created.
You're
Um,
putting your heart and soul into it.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And so sometimes that reluctance to put it out there is really what I term the toxic 10 just showing up, right? The procrastination or avoidance or any of those aspects of fear. If you when you do take yourself over that edge, it's easy to control a conversation when you say, "Hey, send me an inquiry, and then I'll have a conversation with you, and then whatever." But just putting it out there, blanket, detailing it, and saying "bye now," it's the number one way to test.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You just never know, honestly.
yeah,
And if you don't do it, you won't know.
yeah. Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
the answer to every question that you don't ask is no.
That's right.
Yeah,
Don't ask, don't get.
exactly.
No. Awesome. And so one-on-one coaching, group coaching, that's your jam.
Absolutely. And then
Any
working to
clients
do
so
keynote speaking, and thought like I have so many I love commanding a stage with a conversation and being able to bring out some really cool thoughts. For me, it's like Inception. When that little spinning top was left in the safe, and how
you
he
want to leave
thought.
them you want to leave them with that moment at the end. Mic
Yeah,
drop. Bye.
and then whatever that forms into, right? Forms into something that they then make it, right? That seed are the seeds that go forth and transform the world.
Exactly. You just never know whose world you're going to transform.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that to your point earlier, the access in tools at the moment, combined with the amount of economic or survival based pressure And which I don't necessarily think is a terrible thing, because our nature is evolution, and evolution ramps up in times of environmental stress. Like that's what our adaptation processes are. So we know now that schooling and the way that schooling has been fairly similar. I mean, yeah, and I don't mean to insult any teachers out there or any educational stuff, but the curriculum that gets trained isn't necessarily always in line with the
The
best
world
and
today.
most advanced research of what's actually great for learning.
Look,
But now we've got evolutionary pressure, people that want to transform their lives. So that's a psychological driver for it. New tools that give us the opportunity to engage with something that you don't need to know anything. You just need to know what question to ask and start with that question, have the will to drive that. And then resources that allow us to transform our whole outlook on anything. So the world is our oyster in a new way. We're on the precipice of something grand again.
I agree, because there's a couple of things that I was looking into this week. Um, I definitely agree to your point about education. And look, from a cultural background, I come, and probably you as well come from a background where, you're always boxed into lawyer, doctor, accountant,
Yeah.
all the traditional
My
roles,
mom bought a stethoscope for me when I was 2. I get
right?
it. Yeah.
And yet when we stepped into university, it was a whole other world.
Yeah.
But still, if all of that education, all the way through high school and including uh, university, to this day, has been designed for the Revolution. It was an answer to the
Exactly.
Industrial Revolution,
Yeah.
and it still is. Now, unfortunately, they are such large, slow-moving organizations that don't really have the agility to alter their curriculum.
Mm.
Meanwhile, there's 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds and
15.
23-year-olds
Yeah.
who are graduating university,
Yeah.
uh, who are using tools like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, you name it, AI tools. But their education is a far contrast to the tools that they're actually using.
Mm.
And I think um, this is something that I literally was sort of listening into a couple of podcasts around the future of AI. Now I know everybody fears, lots of people fear the unknown, and lots have embraced, for example, AI in this particular instance. But in 10 years' time from now, 2035, I bet you most of the entry level jobs are going to be done by an artificial uh, agent, an AI agent. Technology will take the place of these jobs. Companies will still exist, and they will still have their stack of, HR. They got the finance, legal team, operations team, all of those. And in addition, I'm very sure they're going to need to have a team, a technology team specifically for artificial intelligence. Because AI will be the precursor to exist as a company and a business, and in addition, do well. So going back to education, I really think the education institutions really need to pull their socks up. That's my personal opinion. Having been through university, I mean, if I went back to university to do Bachelor of Applied Science, they're probably still teaching the same stuff that they did when I graduated. Was it 2003, 2004, somewhere around there?
Hmm.
And to your point, where would you like to see education be taken?
So, I mean, I think this is especially personal to me in some aspects because I have two neurodivergent daughters. So both my daughters are ADHD. Both of them, one is in primary school, one is in high school. And I'm a non-conformist in many things in my approach to things. And if I look back in my school reports in early primary school, they were always great at doing this, really, really intelligent, but behavior is erratic, right? And so there were a couple of things that my emotional regulation in school and my sense of self were affected because of the confinement of the nature of the way learning was done in early and throughout my education career. I've noticed that in both my children, and gratefully we've been able to move them to schools that absolutely support their emotional regulation, them understanding the nature of their relationship with their nervous system and how that affects all other aspects of their life. Also, that route learning information is no longer relevant, in my opinion. Information is no longer what is relevant. Creative exploration of how to utilize tools in a changing landscape, that should be the core aspect of education moving forward.
Probably should be, to be honest. Probably should be.
Because, I mean, using any AI tool, like I refer to using GPT currently as being like me having a chat with 7 billion people and having the access to all of humans' digital information at any one point. What changes the nature of what I can produce so quickly now using AI and using tools is my ability to laterally think, consider alternate solutions, and have the fearlessness to try. Because when you do that, you open something new. You're learning alongside with the AI that you're training. The other day, just for giggles, when the Giza report came out, the 8 columns coming down the satellite conductivity SARS satellite from Copernicus plateau from under the Giza plateau with the 8 pylons going 600 meters into the ground. I was like, I wonder how legit this is. Is this going to pass peer review? All right, so I went into my AI tools. I'm like, hey, tell me, if you were going to act like a peer reviewer, review the study, right? And then it's come back and it's giving me like 19 holes in the study. And I'm like, oh, damn it. I want the study to be bulletproof because I'd love for this to be true. All right, so there's 19 holes in it. What would you recommend for us to go and fix this? All right, and it's like, hey, would you like to just download some of the Copernicus satellite data and we could start running some processing on it just for you? I'm like, well, hell yeah, let's try. I've never done this.
Well, sure, why not?
Sure, why not? All right, 25 minutes later, it's written and guided me through this Python script to access some open source Copernicus satellite data. Who knew you could even get this? It's not an area of my field.
What? Really? That's
legitimate.
cool.
Open source downloads this 1.6 gig file onto my computer, free open source off actual satellite data. And it's like, would you like to go and analyze this? I'm like, sure, teach me how to analyze.
All right, let's do it.
I mean, granted, my PC didn't have the processing power to analyze it in high scale detail, and I had to down-regulate it by a factor of 10.
However,
which didn't make it so cool, but it made it so cool anyway, right? I didn't get anything out of it, but it was a random question. It was an hour and a half of my time, and now something I never knew existed, something I never knew was possible, something I never tried before, but because of those thinkings and that, hey, I just wonder, the tool and the bravery to be able to go do it, what a great experience. That's what education would be teaching. How we go here and multiply. Tesla said, the moment we stop studying physical only, and we start studying the non-physical, we'll make more advancements in a decade than we've made in 100 years before. So that's where we're at. That's what education should be preparing us, our kids. And if the systems won't do it, we should do it.
Well, I think a lot of education is consumed off social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, but then the lines get blurred. What's true and what's not true?
Exactly. You can't send them into that without the capacity to do critical thinking. So they've got to have critical
So
thinking.
there has to be a component of critical thinking. Not to worry. I was when I was in primary school, I was called a daydreamer. Probably concocting up some new business idea. Who knows? At the time.
Yeah.
That's my guess anyway.
And that doesn't make great employees, right? Not for the Industrial Revolution. So,
no, you must stick to the program.
Yeah.
The curriculum. So yeah, and the other thing that I was actually doing a little bit of a deep dive into is the possibility of, if we have all of these tools around us, there is a Dutch fella by the name of Peter Levels. Have you ever come across him before?
No.
He has a very interesting story. He was traveling around Asia. This is probably a good 15, 20-ish years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And at the time, sorry, not 15, 20 years ago, maybe about between 5 and 10 years ago. And he basically had kind of run out of money at the time, and decided while traveling around Asia that he needed to start to learn how to code, which he did. And he actually runs multiple businesses, online businesses, that basically serve a single solution. If you go to any of his websites, basically he's solving a single solution. So one of his first, and I think this is his baby. It is used to be, it was called nomadlist.com, and I think it is now called, I'm pretty sure, it is nomads.com. Does Nomadlist still exist? Yeah, it is nomads.com. It is his baby.
Yeah.
And look, pure and simple, there was back then no way, there were no independent reviews of cities where you could go backpacking and know about the food, the cost of living there, the internet connection you're going to have. So basically, he's serving a single solution, and it grew out so big, and obviously highly popular. He's then tacked on things like nomad jobs on the side, and it's a very beautiful looking website. Now, his rationale is build the business yourself, build your website yourself, and continuously iterate and continuously launch when you release a new feature, to keep your momentum up. Because when you're ready to launch, this is when quite often you'll get lots and lots of traffic and visitors. And if it is especially useful and valuable to people, they're either going to become users or they're going to purchase from you.
Yeah.
So I've been toying in my head with the same sort of idea, around what's possible. And this is a project that I think I will end up sharing here. for everyone to actually see. So right now I'm at the ideation stage of what's going to work, what might work, what might not work. And it is going to be a numbers game. I think he's started some 95 odd businesses, and maybe 5 have done really, really well. But those 5 earn him an income without any employees. Yes, he's got AI bots that do a lot of other in-between stuff. And he's got a lot of automations in place, which is the way to go about it. So I think this sort of thing is going to become something very easy to do, and probably easier and easier as time goes on, as tech gets even better and better. So this
Like
is
a micro megapreneur kind of.
basically
It's like yeah.
the I had the numbers earlier this week. Unfortunately, I don't have them in front of me, but I'm very sure. Oh yeah, sorry, I have them with me. So nomads.com makes 23K a month just off nomads.com. Then he's got
With no
remote
staff.
and then remote OK does makes him some 32K
Yeah.
a month. Then he sells some merch doing 12K a month. And there is another one. He's basically using Replicate to borrow an AI model. I think Stable Diffusion is a photo model to produce AI photos. He's got Photo AI. I'm pretty sure that one there produces avatars, AI avatars for yourself. So that one there makes him some 123K a month. But yeah, okay, he's got a half a dozen successful ones. He's gone through 95. He's produced 95 of these.
Well, I mean, it
with
looks like the law of what averages for door to door is the same as the law of averages for business.
there you go, 5%. So I'm actually toying with this idea, and look, one of the ideas that I've had is, look, there's lots of people out there who want to have some sort of idea about a side hustle or a business idea. I'd really like to, and I'm working on this, to create a publicly available list of side hustles and solo businesses, business ideas. And at least for me as a user, I'd like to be able to see what is the idea, how easy is it to actually start off, how much real potential has such a business got, and what's it gonna take for me. So something freely publicly available. So I'm gonna build this and actually test this out. So
that would be really cool. Especially for me, I'd like to, like, if I'm a late arriver, I'd like to know that isn't old as well. Like, so whatever the market entitlement is, how much of it has already been doing, how's the market tracking, is it still relevant, how many people are in it? Like, that would be unreal. There's a live free dashboard.
See what I can cook up, and if I can build this in a week, put the links in this YouTube vid too.
Yeah.
Just so people can go and check it out. But anyway, that's one idea that I've been toying with this week. Let's see where this will go.
I love it. I will come back periodically and check on it and see where it's going and see how it learns, what we learn from it. I mean, it'd be great if there's some cool side hustles you find that I can join too.
Well, there is one that I came across this week as a friend from work. She's got some old clothes lying around that she wants to get rid of. And do you know, there's a place here in Brisbane where you basically hire a rack to put your clothes on. You basically hire it for the week. You go in, put your clothes on the hanger, little tags,
Yeah.
and whatever you make, they give you. You were just pure and simple paying for, what is it, $87 or something like that for a week. So if you've
I
got
know.
some spare space somewhere, you need a website with which has payment functionality. Choose an option or put them on a subscription,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there making $87 a week per rack. And if you've got
Yeah.
a room that's, I don't know, twice the size of uh, my office here, you're probably easily going to make $400 or $500 a week just sitting there.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't even have to lift a finger.
Yeah, that's
But
unreal.
but some of the tech is doing the work for you, and
Yeah, and it's creating
some
a
of
channel.
these trends around vintage clothes.
And
There you go.
what I'm actually really interested, especially in this transformation that I think is coming in, especially if you talk about micro business in a way, but meaningful. It's sustainable. It's not subsistence level. It's truly viable. Like, I mean, those numbers you shared are over 250K a month in revenue. Like, that's that's sizable for the digital nomad guy. With as business tools become more accessible and business becomes more accessible and a pathway for people, the other option is that business can become so much more local as well. And we can develop
Right.
this new local expertise, which means that things aren't necessarily having to be always global or having to be very big or wide in their reach and scope. And some of the mastering things and some of the real community aspects of business can really come to the fore because so many more small local businesses can develop in a substantial, meaningful, and sustainable way. Do you really
I'm
think?
going to say I would have to definitely agree, because the more global we get, the more noise there is, the more signal a local, a community function has, the more connectedness that provides. And I think we are probably also going to see a rise, as paradoxical as it might seem. I think we will see a rise in more localized businesses, and people naturally being attracted to those and supporting their local businesses. Uh, whilst these very local businesses and communities um, are still highly tech focused and
Mhm.
tech enabled.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a wonderful time. I think we'll definitely be able to explore and see how these develop together over time.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I think you have to go, right?
Yeah,
How are you going
dude.
for time?
Bang on time. I gotta leave now.
Easy.
So, I don't know.
I think, yeah, really, this is yeah, really cool convo. Nice and easy. That's
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
love it.
cool. Nirvan, we will see you again sometime.
Yeah,
For
let's
the
debrief later. I'll give you a buzz tomorrow and we can chat.
Sounds good. Will do. You have a good day,
You too,
evening.
man.
Keep
Thank you.
well. We'll see you again.
Yeah, again.
So, guys, this was our first episode. Just having a good chat. We're good friends from a long time, Nirvan and I. And yeah, we love having a good chat about almost anything out there. So make sure you like, subscribe this channel here. Um, let us know what you think in the comments. Any cool, wacky, wonderful ideas. Anything else you want to hear about, tell us. We'll see you next time.